So picture this. It is mid-August. The thermometer outside is reading a blistering 104 degrees, and the afternoon sun is just totally relentless.
Oh, yeah. We all know that feeling.
Right. And you decide you want to head out to your garage. Maybe you want to get a workout in, do some woodworking, or finally organize that massive pile of tools sitting in the corner.
Sounds ambitious for August.
Exactly. Because the second you open that interior door from your house, the wall of heat just hits you. I mean, it is an absolute oven in there.
Well, completely.
The air feels incredibly heavy. You start sweating before you even pick up a wrench. And within 5 minutes, you just abandon the project entirely and retreat back to the air conditioning.
Yep, happens all the time.
But then fast forward 6 months, it's February, and it's a freezing 20 degrees outside. You step out there, your breath instantly plumes in the cold air, and your hand tools are literally ice cold to the touch.
Like grabbing a block of ice.
Yes. So once again, you just turn around and go back inside. For half the year, maybe even more, your garage is essentially unusable. It's just this massive chunk of your property that is held hostage by the weather outside.
Which is, it's an incredibly frustrating reality when you think about it from a financial perspective.
Oh, for sure.
Because you are paying a mortgage on that square footage every single month. But nature gets to dictate when you're actually allowed to occupy it.
I always look at the garage as sort of the final frontier of home comfort. I mean, it's the one room in the house we just accept as a miserable place to be, even though we desperately want to use it for more than just parking cars.
Right, we just settle for it.
We do. But today, our mission is to fix that. We're going straight into a deep dive on the ultimate modern solution for reclaiming your garage.
And we've got some great data for this.
We really do. We're going to unpack a fascinating case study from HVAC professionals operating out of Kingfisher, Oklahoma.
Which, by the way, serves as the perfect testing ground. I mean, Oklahoma is notorious for experiencing the exact wild temperature extremes you just described.
Oh, totally.
You've got those blistering, humid summers and bitter, freezing winters. Yeah. If it works there, it works anywhere.
Exactly. We are going to show you exactly how to condition this space without burning down your wallet in the process. But okay, let's unpack this. Before we can look at the right way to fix your garage temperature, we really have to look at why the old way is just so flawed.
Yeah, the way your dad or your grandpa probably did it.
Right, which is completely wrong for the year 2026.
It really is. I mean, the status quo for decades has been this very specific sort of patchwork system.
The classic setup.
Yeah, people instinctively buy a portable propane heater to get them through the winter cold, and then they shove a loud, heavy window air conditioning unit into the wall to survive the summer.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though. Isn't a propane heater and a cheap window AC unit just, like, the most affordable, easiest way to get the job done?
I mean, I get why people think that.
Right. Because you just go to the local hardware store, you plug one machine in, you light the other one, and boom, you have heating and cooling by the end of the weekend.
It definitely feels like the path of least resistance on day one.
Sure.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, that default system has 3 massive, critical flaws that ultimately cost you way more in time, money, and comfort.
Okay, what's the first flaw?
First, there's just the sheer inefficiency of managing 2 distinct, outdated systems. A window unit is incredibly loud.
Oh, they rattle so much.
Exactly. They're so loud you can hardly hear yourself think, let alone listen to music while you work. Plus, it literally steals a window, so you're blocking out natural light.
Good point. And what about the heating side?
On the heating side, a propane heater requires a constant fuel source. So you're either paying a contractor to permanently pipe a gas line out to your garage.
Which means expensive permits, right?
Exactly. Expensive permits and labor. Or you're constantly lugging heavy propane tanks back and forth to the refill station all winter long.
Ugh, yeah, so it's really high maintenance. But the second flaw outlined in the case study is the one that really surprised me because it's something I never would have thought about.
The humidity factor.
Yes. When we think about heating and cooling a room, we usually just focus entirely on the thermometer. We completely forget about the humidity.
Which is a huge mistake. Because in a place like Oklahoma, summer means incredibly high humidity. A window unit might drop the air temperature a few degrees, but it often lacks the sustained power to pull enough moisture out of a leaky, unsealed garage.
Right, and that moisture just sits there.
Yep. High humidity rusts your expensive metal tools, it warps the wood you're trying to use for projects, and it can even ruin automotive finishes.
Wow.
But the crazy part is, the moisture problem actually gets exponentially worse in the winter.
Wait, hold on. How does it get worse in the winter? Winter air is usually super dry.
It is dry until you turn on the unvented propane heater.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, these portable heaters actively produce water vapor as a natural byproduct of combustion. At
Yeah.
chemical level, propane is a hydrocarbon, right?
Right, okay.
So when you burn it, the hydrogen combines with oxygen in the air to create H2O. For every gallon of propane you burn to stay warm, you are releasing a massive amount of water vapor directly into the enclosed air of your garage.
That is wild. The irony there is just staggering.
It really is.
You're running a heater to protect your car or your tools from the cold weather, but in the process, you are actively pumping moisture into the room and rusting them from the inside out.
It's a perfect recipe for condensation and mold. And that leads directly to the third major flaw with 1970s trap, which is your health and your property value.
Oh, because of the fumes.
Exactly.
Okay.
That propane combustion isn't just dumping water vapor. It is releasing combustion byproducts, gases like carbon monoxide and nitrogen dioxide, right into the air you're breathing while you work in an enclosed space.
Yeah, that's a seriously hazardous environment.
Definitely. And from a real estate perspective, a loud window unit and a portable space heater add $0 to the resale value of your home. It looks like a makeshift setup because, well, it is one.
It just screams temporary fix.
Exactly.
So knowing that pumping moisture and combustion gases into a noisy garage is a terrible idea, we pivot to the 21st century solution. The single-zone, ductless mini-split heat pump.
The gold standard.
Yeah. If you haven't seen one, it's that sleek rectangular unit mounted high up on a wall. It runs purely on a normal 220-volt electrical circuit. No gas lines, no explosive fuels, and no giant cutout in your wall.
But the case study points out a huge trap here.
Right. A lot of people decide they want a mini split. They go online. They buy a unit rated for, say, 500 square feet. They install it in their 500 square foot garage. And then they are absolutely furious when the room is still sweltering in August.
It happens all the time.
So what does this all mean for the average person trying to buy one? Why does that unit fail?
Because the packaging assumes you are installing the unit inside a standard modern residential room. From an HVAC engineering perspective, garages are an absolute nightmare.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They are the ultimate worst-case scenario for what we call a load calculation.
Okay, let's slow down for a second. Break down what a load calculation actually is for someone who isn't an HVAC contractor.
Sure. A load calculation is basically the math used to determine exactly how much heating or cooling power a specific room needs to maintain a constant temperature.
Okay, makes sense.
Inside your house, you have thick drywall, heavily insulated exterior walls, insulated ceilings, and double-pane windows. The space holds temperature beautifully.
Right, it's a sealed box.
Exactly. But a garage lacks almost all of that thermal defense. You often have uninsulated cinder block walls, open rafters, bare studs, and these massive uninsulated steel garage doors that just let heat pass right through them effortlessly.
So you can't just measure the floor space and call it a day. The footprint doesn't tell the whole story.
Not even close. Let's look at the baseline numbers from the Kingfisher experts. If you have a typical two-car garage, roughly 450 to 500 square feet, and that space was a bedroom inside your house, you might only need a tiny unit.
Right.
But for a standard garage of that exact same size, you need a system with a baseline of 18,000 BTUs, which is a 1.5-ton unit.
I hear that term BTU thrown around a lot when shopping for appliances like barbecues and stuff. What does stepping up the BTUs actually do for the room?
BTU stands for British Thermal Unit. It's simply the measurement of how much heat energy the unit can move out of the room in the summer or pump into the room in the winter.
Okay, got it.
So 18,000 BTUs is a strong baseline. But let's say that same 500 square foot garage is totally uninsulated, and it faces straight west, so it bakes in the brutal afternoon sun.
Oh, that sounds miserable.
It is. Because that thermal load is so extreme, you actually have to step up the power to a 24,000 BTU or 2-ton unit just to keep the room comfortable.
Wow, so the exact same floor plan needs significantly more physical power just because of the direction the sun sets.
Yes. But conversely, if you have a modern garage that is fully finished, insulated in the walls and ceiling, and features an insulated garage door, the room holds its temperature so well that you might easily get away with a much smaller 12,000 BTU or 1-ton unit.
Which obviously saves you money on the initial purchase of the equipment, and it lowers your electrical bill every month.
Exactly.
And there's another massive benefit to sizing the mini split correctly, which brings us right back to the moisture problem we talked about earlier. As the mini split runs its cooling cycle in the summer, it essentially acts as an industrial strength dehumidifier.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful byproduct of the refrigeration cycle.
How does that actually work mechanically?
So the indoor unit pulls the warm, moist garage air over a freezing cold evaporator coil. When the humid air hits that freezing metal, the temperature of the air drops below its dew point.
Okay.
The moisture condenses out of the air and onto the coil, exactly like water droplets forming on the outside of a cold glass of iced tea on a hot patio.
Oh, that's a great visual.
Yeah, and then that liquid water is collected and drained outside through a small tube.
So it leaves the air inside your garage cool and critically dry. You are actively protecting your tools from rust and your wood from warping, completely eliminating the moisture nightmare of that old propane setup.
It's a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
But here is where the case study takes a really fascinating turn.
Okay, what is it?
Since the load calculation in a garage is so extreme, the Kingfisher experts stress that solving the HVAC problem actually starts with entirely ignoring the HVAC equipment.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I want to use an analogy here. Let's imagine you are trying to fill a bathtub with warm water, but the drain at the bottom is wide open.
Right.
You have two choices. You can go out and spend a fortune on a massive, high-pressure industrial faucet to try and pump hot water in faster than it can escape out the bottom. Or you could just reach down and plug the drain.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize the thermal dynamics of a garage, because that giant uninsulated steel roll-up door is the open drain. Steel is a highly conductive material. At a molecular level, its structure allows heat energy, which is really just the vibration of atoms, to pass through it with almost zero resistance.
So the heat just walks right in.
Exactly. When the August sun beats down on the exterior of an uninsulated steel door, those metal atoms vibrate rapidly, instantly passing that thermal energy to the inside surface of the door, radiating heat into your garage.
And in the winter, it's the exact same thing but backwards, right?
Yep, the process just reverses. The heat you generate inside hits the cold steel and is immediately transferred to the freezing air outside.
So what is the plug for the drain? How do we stop that atomic vibration?
You have to create what is known as a thermal break. The absolute best thing you can do before you even solicit quotes for a mini split is to insulate that garage door.
Okay.
If you upgrade to a modern factory-insulated steel door, the core of that door is filled with dense foam. Foam is packed with millions of tiny, trapped air pockets.
And air doesn't transfer heat well.
Exactly. Because air cannot move around freely inside the foam, it is a terrible conductor of heat. The atomic structure is just too spread out to transfer that vibrational energy.
So it physically interrupts the path of the heat.
Precisely. By placing that insulated layer between the exterior and interior steel, you cut the heat transfer through that massive wall by a staggering 60 to 70%.
That is a massive reduction. But, I mean, let's be realistic about budgets here. A brand new custom garage door can be very expensive. Not everyone has that kind of cash lying around, especially right after buying an HVAC system. What if a new door just isn't in the cards right now?
The experts address that perfectly with some highly effective DIY alternatives. You don't have to buy a whole new door.
Really? Like what?
You can go to any local hardware store and buy rigid foam board insulation. You simply cut it to size and fit it snugly into the recessed panels on the inside of your existing steel door. That immediately creates a makeshift thermal break.
Okay, that sounds pretty doable.
It is. Next, you buy heavy-duty weather stripping and apply it around the entire perimeter of the door. And finally, make sure to seal the gaps at the side jambs where the door meets the vertical tracks.
So why is this so critical? I mean, why spend a Saturday cutting foam board in a hot garage before calling the AC installer?
Because doing these cheap, non-HVAC fixes reduces the room's thermal load so drastically that you literally change the math on the equipment you need.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, by plugging that thermal drain, you might suddenly drop from needing a massive, expensive 2-ton unit down to a smaller, cheaper, and quieter 1.5-ton unit.
Wow.
The foam board insulation pays for itself on day one just in the savings on the mini-split hardware alone, not to mention the ongoing energy savings every single month.
That is just working smarter, not harder. Okay, so let's say I've spent my Saturday cutting foam board, the thermal drain is plugged, and I've purchased the appropriately sized ductless mini split. What does the actual physical installation look like?
It's surprisingly simple.
Because a lot of people assume they're going to have to tear down their drywall and run massive sheet metal ducts through their ceiling.
Not at all. That is the beauty of a ductless system. It is incredibly non-invasive. The whole system basically consists of two primary components.
Okay, what are they?
You have the outdoor compressor unit, which sits quietly on a small concrete pad on the ground, or it can be mounted on a sturdy steel bracket right on the exterior wall. Then you have the indoor head unit, that sleek box that actually blows the conditioned air.
And where should that indoor unit go for maximum efficiency? Does it matter?
It definitely matters. You want to mount it high up on the wall, and ideally on the wall completely opposite the garage door,
Why opposite the door?
because that positioning allows the unit to effectively throw the conditioned air all the way across the room, creating a strong circulation pattern that reaches every corner.
Got it. And connecting the indoor box to the outdoor compressor doesn't require, like, destroying the walls.
No, not at all. The only major penetration into the building is a single 3-inch hole drilled straight through the exterior wall.
Just 3 inches.
Yep. Through that small hole, the installer runs the copper refrigerant lines, a small drain line for the condensation, and a communication wire between the two units. That is it. No major demolition, and no compromising the structural integrity of your home.
Okay, so it is just a sleek box on the wall and a 3-inch hole. I mean, I am totally sold on the summer cooling part of this, but here is where I really have to push back, because this is the biggest hang-up people have with this technology.
The winter heating.
Yes. We said earlier that this mini split is purely electric. It is a heat pump. And by definition, a heat pump warms a room by extracting ambient heat from the outside air and pumping it inside.
Correct.
So what happens on those brutal mornings in February when it drops to 5 degrees outside? There's no heat in the air. Doesn't an electric heat pump just give up and blow cold air?
What's fascinating here is understanding the physics of modern refrigerants. It's totally counterintuitive to how we feel temperature.
Explain that to me.
Well, the refrigerant used in these systems has a boiling point way, way below zero, sometimes down around minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Minus 50.
Exactly.
Okay.
So even if it is 5 degrees above zero outside, that air is still significantly warmer than the liquid refrigerant.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. The heat energy from that 5-degree air transfers into the freezing refrigerant, boils it into a gas, and then the compressor squeezes that gas. When you compress a gas, it heats up drastically. That highly concentrated heat is what gets pumped inside your garage.
Okay, so there is technically heat in the air even when it feels totally freezing to my human skin.
Exactly.
But I have heard horror stories from people in cold climates whose heat pumps completely failed in the winter. Like, they just stopped working. What is the mechanical difference between a unit that fails and the units you are talking about?
It all comes down to whether you are using standard technology or specialized technology.
Yeah.
A standard entry-level mini-split uses a single-stage compressor. It is either on at full speed or it is off.
Like a light switch.
Exactly like a light switch. So when the outside temperature drops to around 25 degrees, there just isn't enough ambient heat for that fixed-speed compressor to absorb fast enough. It loses its heating capacity.
Oh, okay. So what do the Kingfisher experts recommend instead?
They specifically mandate a different tier of technology for garages in their region. They use systems equipped with what Mitsubishi calls hyperheat technology, or equivalent low ambient systems.
How does hyperheat overcome that 25-degree limit?
These specialized units use variable speed inverter compressors. Instead of just turning on or off, the compressor can dynamically spool up and run at incredibly high speeds when the temperature plummets.
Like it has gears.
Yes. Think of it like a car downshifting to climb a steep hill. It pumps the refrigerant much faster to extract the necessary heat from the cold air, allowing the system to hold 100% of its full heating capacity all the way down to 5 degrees outside.
That is incredible engineering, 5 degrees outside, and it is still pumping out maximum heat.
And it continues to deliver meaningful warm air well below zero. Now let's inject some realism into this scenario.
Let's do it.
In a rare, extreme cold snap, say it drops to -5 outside, you might set the remote to 70 degrees and the garage might only be able to reach 65 or 68 degrees.
Which honestly, if I am out in the garage in a sweatshirt working on a table saw, 65 degrees is a perfectly comfortable environment.
Absolutely.
You aren't freezing, the equipment does not physically fail or ice up, and most importantly, you completely avoid the year-round hassle, the fumes, and the severe fire hazard of dealing with a propane heater.
Exactly. The safety upgrade alone is massive.
Now, let's talk about the layout of the property itself. Does it make a difference if the garage is attached directly to the house versus sitting out back by itself as a detached structure?
Oh, it absolutely makes a difference, primarily concerning the installation logistics and the thermal load.
Okay, let's start with attached.
An attached garage is generally easier and less expensive to condition. First, the main electrical panel is usually closer, meaning a much shorter run for the new 220-volt circuit.
Which means less labor and materials.
Right. Second, the garage shares at least one wall with the house. That means it benefits from the conditioned space next door. It has a slightly warmer baseline in the winter and a slightly cooler baseline in the summer.
Because it isn't battling the elements on all four sides.
Correct. Now, a detached garage is completely exposed to the elements on all four walls, plus the roof.
So it's taking a beating from the weather.
Exactly. That higher thermal exposure means you'll likely need a slightly larger capacity unit. Furthermore, getting electrical power to a detached structure might require digging a trench to bury a high-voltage conduit from your main panel to the garage, which, pushes the overall budget up.
Yeah, trenching is never cheap, so if all it takes is a 3-inch hole and a small concrete pad for a normal install, why aren't people putting these in every single garage in America? Is the equipment itself just prohibitively expensive? Let's look at the actual dollars and cents.
Okay, based on the 2026 data from the case study, for a typical 2-ton Mitsubishi single-zone unit professionally installed with a standard electrical run, you are looking at an upfront cost ranging from $5,000 to $7,000.
Yeah, for a lot of people, a $5,000 to $7,000 price tag induces some serious sticker shock. It feels like a massive financial leap from buying a cheap window unit at a big box store.
It is a significant upfront investment, no doubt about it. But this is where we have to look at the true long-term math. We have to compare it directly to the 1970s trap over a realistic ownership horizon.
Okay, let's run those numbers. If I do it the old way, I am buying a decent high-capacity window unit. That is going to run me between $500 and $800.
Right.
Then I need a high-quality garage propane heater that is easily another $500 to $1,000.
Yep.
But I can't just set the heater on the floor. I need fuel. So I am paying a certified plumber to pull a permit and run a gas line from my house out to the garage, which could easily cost $1,000 or more.
And if you don't do that, you still have to purchase the propane fuel every single winter to keep that portable tank running.
Exactly. When you total all of that up over a 10-year timeline, you have essentially spent the exact same amount of money.
Exactly.
The defining difference is, with the old way, you spent thousands of dollars on a loud, inefficient, moisture-pumping patchwork system that adds absolutely zero value to your home.
Which is just throwing money away.
Yeah. But with the mini-split, for that same 10-year cost, you have a safe, whisper-quiet, automatically temperature-controlled space. Plus, if you use a certified installer, what Mitsubishi calls a diamond dealer, that equipment is backed by a 12-year warranty on parts and the compressor.
Which is a crucial detail because a garage is a much harsher operating environment for electronics and mechanical parts than, say, a carpeted living room. Having a 12-year warranty provides incredible peace of mind for that upfront investment.
So what does this all mean? Let's wrap this up into our core takeaway.
Sure.
If you want to actually use your garage for its intended purpose, for your hobbies, your workouts, or just your sanity, you have to stop relying on 1970s answers.
It's time to upgrade.
A single, properly sized electric mini-split heat pump, when paired with some basic common-sense door insulation to create a thermal break, will absolutely transform that space. You can take an unusable August oven or a February icebox and permanently turn it into a year-round extension of your home's livable square footage.
It really reclaims the space entirely. And, I think that leaves us with a much broader, more provocative question to ponder.
Oh, what's that?
We have spent decades letting the physical walls of our house dictate where our comfort ends. We just draw a hard line at the interior drywall. But if the simple ductless electric unit can reclaim 500 square feet of quote-unquote unusable garage space without requiring any new gas lines or massive ductwork, what other spaces in our lives are we completely abandoning?
Wow, yeah. Think about that drafty sunroom, the
Mhm.
dusty attic space above the garage, the garden shed out back, or the workshop you only venture into during the mild days of spring.
Exactly.
How many square feet of our own property are we surrendering to the elements simply because we are stuck in outdated ways of thinking about climate control? We literally let the weather bully us out of our own
It's
houses.
wild when you put it like that.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I highly encourage you the next time you walk out to your car to look at that massive steel garage door a little differently. Think about the atomic vibration. Think about that open bathtub drain.
Plug the drain.
Exactly. Plug the drain, rethink the technology, and go reclaim your space. See you next time.